guys, welcome to our fourth class of Unity, and in this class we are going to continue the movement of the character, but this time we're going to move a different thing. So what we have right now, if we play the game, let me play on maximize it right here. What we have right now, we can't move around, so you can see that I can go like forward, backwards, left and right. Okay, so basically what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be changing a little bit this movement in order to get the movement of the mouse. So even though I have the mouse right here, I can't actually move it around and it's not going to move the camera. You see, so that's what we're going to be doing today. So actually, if you think about it, I'm just gonna fake it by using the transform. We have the camera right here, and in order to look around, the movement that actually is happening is X. So we can go up and down with X, and we have Y, left and right. We don't actually move Z because Z does not actually do any kind of movement that is kind of cool for us, so we don't want this kind of movement. So basically what we are going to be doing right here is Y and then Z. So even though I'm saying that is movement, we're not actually moving anything, we're just rotating a little bit the main camera. So that's basically what we are doing, what we're going to be doing right here with the player controller. We're going to use the same script, so we're going to continue to edit our player controller. We're just going to add more features to this. So this is going to move our character around. So literally move it around, like with the position with the keyboards, WASD. And it also going to get the input from the mouse, and it's going to rotate the camera depending on the mouse. All right, so that's what we are going to be doing today. So I'm going to open our script. With my script open right here, one thing that I'm actually going to be doing right here, just to be a little bit easier, I'm going to explain for you guys one thing that is important. You see this whole script right here? This is what actually makes our movement happen, and it's inside update, so it means that it's going to be happening every single frame. So one thing that I'm going to be changing right here, I'm going to create one function to that piece of script. So basically after update, so I'm gonna jump a few lines update, and I'm gonna write something like this, void, and then I'm going to put movement controller. And then what I'm going to do is just copy and paste everything from the update. So I'm gonna copy, actually cut and paste. What I just did is a function. I know it's a function because it can kind of return, so it doesn't return anything, so it's void. It have a name, it have this parenthesis and open and close key brackets. So it's very similar to update, but instead of update, I just name it something like whatever. I just name it movement controller. So basically, in order to make sure that this script actually happens, what I am going to do is I'm gonna call the script. So I'm gonna just call the script right here. So every time that you call a script inside of update, basically this, when I say this, everything inside of the function is going to be executed. So if you can, we're gonna write more than one function right now, and it kind of makes our script a little bit more organized. So when we put the script inside of here and we have a call on update, it's going to do the same thing, but it's just a little bit more organized. So if I save it as it is right here, Unity will load this. But the thing is, it's doing the same thing, okay? It's just a little bit more organized. All right? So again, what I did is just I create a new function, void movement controller, open and close parentheses, and then open and close key brackets. That's a function. And then I just copy everything from update and paste inside of this function. And then to finalize, to end, I call the function inside of update. So every time I call the function, everything inside of update will be called. And we're gonna do this for our movement of the head. That basically is the movement of the camera. So basically what I'm going to be calling the function, I'm going to create another function right here. It's going to be void FPS camera. All right, so that's the function. Whatever I'm gonna write in here, also I'm gonna make it sure that it's being called in update. So it's gonna actually update the same way as movement controller, but in that way we'll only refer to the movement of the camera. So it's going to be a little bit more organized. All right. So in order to make the camera, I will need to add two different variables right here. Both they're going to be float variables. So what I'm going to do right here is public float rotation x, and then public float rotation y. Okay, so we're gonna have these two variables. They are going to control the rotation of the camera, and it's going to be a little bit easier for us using that variable. So after creating this variable, I'm gonna go here to FPS camera, and I'm going to start actually developing the script that is going to make our camera move around. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the rotation X and the rotation Y with inputs from the mouse. So rotation X will be responsible for the mouse X, so the part from the mouse, the X part. Rotation Y is going to be responsible for the part of the mouse Y, so get axis, mouse Y. And they're actually going to increment, because if you start moving them, it's just going to pick from the part that they are and increment a little bit depending on the movement of the mouse. So what it means is basically if I move my mouse to the left, I will increment the X and Y of that movement into my rotation. So in whatever I am looking at, I will increase by left. The same thing for up and down and right. All right, so basically I'm going to always increment the movement of the mouse in the rotation of the camera. And that's what I'm going to be doing next. And just to be a little bit more clear, I'm going to multiply by a number just to have a high sensitivity. So every time that I move 1 in the mouse, I'm actually going to move 10 in the camera. So this 10 is the sensitivity of the camera. All right, so let's do it. Rotation X is going to be equal to input, that's famous, is going to get the input from the mouse, get axis, and then I'm going to pick the X part of the mouse, so mouse X. Then I'm going to multiply this by the sensitivity that I'm talking about. It can be anything. You can try different values. I'm going to use 10. So 10. And this is for X. I'm going to do the exactly same thing for Y. Then input, get axis, mouse Y, again multiply by 10. Alright, so I am picking this information and I am passing to rotation. Remember that rotation X and rotation Y, they are both float, and inside of Unity angles are not float. They are a new kind that we call Quaternion. The math involving Quaternion is a little bit different. So what I'm going to be doing right here, I'm just going to explain a little bit in a basic way. But basically, we will turn rotation X into a Quaternion X and rotation Y into a Quaternion Y. And they both, we are going to combine them together into a final angle. So basically, I'm turning float into an angle. and for rotation X and rotation Y, I'm gonna sum up them together and I will have a final angle. And then this angle I'm going to apply to the rotation of my camera. All right, so that's basically what we're going to be doing next. First, I need to create a Quaternion for both. So Quaternion, actually it's Quaternion. I'm gonna call X quat for X. So Quaternion angle axis. Basically, I'm going to create an angle from the rotation. So rotation X vector up. The angle always going to have a reference. So for X, I'm using up, and for Y, I'm going to use left. Let me take a look on here. What is this? Maybe Quaternion. Why is saying that we have a error? Quaternion, no, not Quaternion. Quaternion. Yeah, like this. And another Quaternion. This time for Y. So Y quad. This is going to be a Quaternion angle axis rotation Y in this case and left. As we don't have left, I'm going just to basically use negative right. That's basically left. So negative vector right. Okay, so right now we have the angles for X and we have the angles for Y based on the rotation that from X and Y based from the input. So I first get the input, multiply by 10, and then turn this input, the incrementation of the input, into angles. Oh, one thing, this is not only equal, it's plus equal. All right, I'm just saw this. I need to increment this every time. So that's why I'm using like this. All right, so we have the angle, and as I said, we just need to have a final angle because they are going to be the combination of X and Y. Since they are Quaternion, we can't just make X quad plus Y quad because they actually are matrices. So in order to sum up matrices, we need to multiply them by each other and then multiply by matrix identity. Don't worry about it if you don't learn matrix right now. Just keep in mind that we're just combining them into a final angle that we're going to apply to our camera. So Quaternion final quad equal to Quaternion identity multiplied by X quad multiplied by Y quad. Alright, so basically I will have Quaternion identity multiplied by X quad and then multiplied by Y quad. Okay? This is our final angle. So basically what I'm going to be doing right now is just I'm going to apply this Quaternion to my final camera rotation. In order to pick the camera rotation, I'm gonna call camera main. So that's the main camera. Local rotation. So this is going to be the local rotation of the main camera. Actually not transform. Yep. So camera.main.transform.local rotation equal to Quaternion lerp camera main transform local rotation. So lerp gets the information from an initial point to a final point. So initial point will be the currently rotation. The final point will be our final quad. All right, and then the time that is going to take, time delta time, multiply it by any number. If this number is high, it's going to happen faster. If it's slower, it's going to happen slower. So I'm gonna, just as an example, I'm going to put 20 right here. But then you can change that later, right? Semicolon. So that's a huge line of script, but that's it. All right, so basically what I'm going to do right now, it's on update. I will call this FPS camera function and see what happens. I'm gonna go back to Unity and play the game. You can see that where my mouse goes, my head goes with it, right? Wow. So just as an example, going back to the script, here on 20, if I don't put 20 and put something like 1, you can see that it will be slower. The movement will be slower. You see? I'm moving the mouse, but the head is actually moving very slowly. It's kind of odd, actually. Very odd, right? So let's keep with 20 for now. All right. So, okay, so we have the movement. We have the movement right now. Just one odd feeling that I'm having right here. It's that if I look down, I can do this. I can do a 360 in my mouse. All right. That's a little bit odd. So let's fix this part. Let's make sure that actually this doesn't happen. So how can I limit my rotation? I don't need limitations on my X because, as you can see right here in my camera, like I don't actually need, I can do this kind of movement, that's okay, all right? I just need limitation in my Y part. So basically what I'm going to do right here on the rotation, I'm going to limit to a certain kind of information. So basically what I'm going to do is say that rotation Y is going to be equal to math F clamp, all right? And then it's going to pick the rotation Y. Next is going to be the minimum. The minimum, I'm going to put -70, for example, and the maximum is going to be 90. So I don't want it to go all the way up, but I don't want it to go all the way down. So you can change this information. This is the lower that it can go. This is the highest it can go. And this is the currently information. So it's going to pick the currently information and then replace it by in a number in between the lower and in between the higher. If it's not, it's above the lower and below the higher, it returns the same information, right? So it's kind of also always going to be, how can I say? It's always going to be in that terms. So I'm gonna save this and then play the game again. So I have this lower and this. All right, so I guess that's awesome. We have our game right here. We can look around, look up, look down, and walk around, looking up. So right here we have a full first-person controller. So that's how we can now explore our terrain fully. All right. One more thing that we can do, you can see that we can see our mouse in the camera. We can fix this. If we go to the script and in start, we can say something like cursor lock state, cursor lock mode locked. So it means that the cursor will be locked. If I save it right now, you will have something like this. Oh. See, where is our mouse? It's not in the scene anymore. So right now it actually kind of looks as an FPS as it should. All right, I can move around, I can run around, and that's our FPS. So you guys can really go wild with the script that I just made. You can play with it, you can put different limitations, you can make it slower, faster, it's your choice. That is the class of today. On the next class we continue this course. Thank you very much. See you on the next class. Bye bye.